Hello, I'm Ron Weber. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Trinet Internet Solutions, and I'm here today to talk to you about 2017 digital ministry trends. This is a presentation I did at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in the exhibit hall, the Learning Arena. And Trinet, we work with clients all across the country. We bring a breath of fresh air to our clients. We help them with innovative new ideas, out-of-the-box ideas to help them get better results from their digital marketing, from their online presence, and from the various media ministries that they run. So let's dive right in with new trends in 2017 digital ministry trends. So first off, today's topics, I'm going to talk about mobile first, scrolling pages, UI grids and cards, originality, animation and video, and I'm going to close out with tips for Giving Tuesday. So let's start first with mobile first. It is time to perfect your mobile presence. Google in the last couple of years has really notched up their algorithms, and if your website and if your mobile site is not mobile first and is not mobile friendly, you'll get dinged in Google searches. So you want to make sure that you've perfected your mobile presence. So first of all, in 2017, optimized for mobile equals responsive design. Over 36% of mobile subscribers use mobile phones to read email. 34% only use mobile devices to read email. That's a significant percentage, so you'll want to make sure that any emails you create, whether they're fundraising or monthly emails, that they can be read and that they display properly when used on a mobile device. Second, over 50% of smartphone users grab their smartphone immediately after waking up. So more and more, and we've seen this over time with our clients as well, more and more traffic is going to mobile. So it's definitely something that you need to be concerned about. Why responsive? Well, 79% of users will search another site if the content is not mobile optimized. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, any site that isn't optimized will see drops in SEO rankings due to bounce rates and clickbacks. And Google has actually implemented this in their algorithm. So if you have previously you were well ranked, your ranking can actually drop if you don't mobile enable or make your web pages mobile friendly. So you'll definitely want to consider that. So where is the audience? This is a graph from Bing Ads, and the source is Bing proprietary data, January 2017, which shows device usage for search during a typical day. And you can see that late at night, mobile and tablet are most popular, in particular in the early morning commute. Then once we get into the work hours, the desktop dominates during work hours. Finally, during the evening, mobile and tablet will dominate in the evening and in the prime time. So depending on who your audience is and who you're trying to reach, you might want to take this into account in terms of designing your web and your online experience. Next, responsive versus non-mobile optimized. Of course, responsive design, that's where you're taking content and you're able to change it, move it around from a 3-column layout to a single-column display. The key features are that it's dynamic content that changes. There's usually condensed navigation where you'll see what's called a hamburger menu, and the menu bar is collapsed into that hamburger menu that you can touch and then it pops open. It's reliant on mobile operating system, and you can hide content not ideally suited to mobile users. So here's an example of a mobile responsive design. As you change the size, as you change this website and move it from a full screen to tablet size to mobile, it changes around the display, and what is displayed actually changes as well. So you'll see it goes from the view on the left to the view on the right, and you can notice here the hamburger menu. And this stacked 3-line stack, that's what I refer to as the hamburger menu. So responsive versus non-mobile optimized. A non-mobile optimized design doesn't adjust for usability concerns regardless of the device on which it is used. So key features are shrink to fit content, simplified navigation, and it's not reliant on the mobile operating system. So here's a desktop-based versus mobile-based versus mobile-optimized website or web experience. On the left, there's the desktop site, and you can see that it really is just all the buttons, and the text is very small and it's very difficult to use. The one on the right has been optimized for mobile, and you can notice the large buttons that are easy to hit with the finger. And also, the items that have been chosen for the view have been specially selected, and to pick those that are most appropriate for a mobile user, such as find a restaurant, our menu, contact us. Now you'll note there's a link to view the full site, but not all the items are displayed because we really want to focus on those items that are most appropriate for a mobile user. Scrolling pages is very efficient for responsive web design, and we see that in the design trends, where in the mobile view you create a very long scrolling website, and you're able to scroll up and down as you view the various content. So you have a continuous scrolling page. You collapse the content into a single column. The design information can be viewed on a single long page, and there's a focus on a central theme. And what's ideal and wise as well is to have repeated calls to action as you're scrolling through, so that in case you don't scroll through all the way to the bottom and your call to action is only at the bottom, you won't miss reaching that person. So you might want to create multiple or repeated calls to action throughout the length of the scrolling page. So a long scrolling page of disconnected information is, of course, not a good mobile user experience. You'll want to organize the content type, the content hierarchy, and the general flow. You'll want to prioritize tasks of a page while still providing access to secondary information. And the most important information, particularly the calls to action, should always appear at or near the top so that they're visible on that initial screen, so that in case I don't scroll, I still get the calls to action. So here's an example of website, hierarchy, and subsections, and how to organize it. So some important considerations in scrolling pages. Conditional loading. Make sure that you're parsing or displaying secondary content via separate HTML fragments, and that there's progressive disclosure. So content is scannable and provides access to the full content. So here's an example of that. You can see this in a Wikipedia page where the content is hidden underneath arrows as you click on. For example, you hit discontinued software platforms, and it expands, and you can see the additional data and the additional content there. But on the top level, you can see timeline, current software platforms, market share, futures. See also references and external links. So I can see all the top level navigation without getting overwhelmed and without presenting me with too much detailed content. And I can access whatever content I need quickly and easily. Next, scrolling pages, making sure they're mobile optimized, and you can see on the left versus on the right how the page has been optimized. The one on the left, which is for a desktop, shows much more information versus the one on the right has really been condensed and specially formatted and shows only relevant information for a mobile user. Next, some tips. Make sure you're designing for mobile first. You want to be thinking about designing for narrow viewports to establish content hierarchy and flow. Second, you'll want to integrate sticky navigation, and that's where the navigation map remains in the same place on the screen, typically at the top of the screen. Third, keep in mind page height and scrolling length to create that ideal experience. So here's an example of sticky navigation. As I scroll up and down, that main navigation always stays at the top of my screen, so I never lose my ability to be able to navigate to other pages. And next, let me talk about UI grids and cards. And this is a great choice for a responsive framework. And it's a great way to think about design as you're designing. So UI grids and cards, of course, popular for a responsive framework, gives a burst of information in a way that is easy to see and digest all at once. The benefits are it's great for responsive frameworks because if you organize your information into columns and cards, it can easily be collapsed to fit the shape and size of the screen. And second, there may be it provides you multiple ways to manipulate that information and how it appears. So they can appear stacked individually, as is often the case for mobile design, or it can fall into a grid for larger screens. So there's 4 basic designs that we see out there. One is pins, second is flat design, third is a masonry or sometimes called grid design, and the fourth is a magazine style. Cards right now are a trendy option because of their flexibility and wide range of use. So first of all, let's touch on pins and flat design. So pins, of course, are most recognizable, popularized in particular by Pinterest. Flat design uses bright colors, simple visuals. Microsoft's Start menu is a great example of that. It's a very simple but clean design that uses simple visuals and bright colors. Here's an example of a flat design. And you can see how it's laid out. It's very simple. It's clean. Here's an example of pins and masonry. And you can see as you click how the information gets displayed. And in particular, how it changes from on the left desktop to on the right, a mobile view. So the next one, number 3, is a masonry, a grid, and it's structured in a logical manner. There's typically equal spacing, versus a magazine style is based on news and magazine websites. There's typically a hierarchical design or layout, and there's a visual hierarchy as well, where the larger images and larger headlines denote more important or more weighty articles. Smaller images, smaller headlines denote secondary or tertiary level articles in terms of the importance of how you want the reader to perceive it and read it. So here's an example, of course, of magazine style. You can see the most important articles right at the top. A large visual, large font for the headline, and you can see how that looks as it transitions into a mobile view on the right-hand side. Then on the left, you can see on the second part of the screen, the lesser important articles have smaller visuals and have smaller fonts. Next, UI grids and cards. Best practices is keep it simple, one card to each concept. Make sure you're using negative space, balance it with white space, create high quality images for cropping, and make sure we keep a consistent grid, maintain an even spacing, and make the entire card clickable just for easier user interaction. Next, I'd like to touch on the concept. So originality. We want to be able to capture authentic images as they occur. We want to make it more relatable and create engaging content and provide compelling imagery and social proof for your fundraising if you're a nonprofit. And obviously if you're a if you have a corporate website, you want to have calls to action for either a product or a service. And this on the right, you can see an example of a website created for Generation Joshua, which has great visuals that are very compelling. Originality. Well, of course, original illustrations really do lend personality. They help establish a brand identity. You can really match the tone of the brand. And you can also, it's a very versatile medium that can be used for anything. Headers, custom iconography, animated visuals. And you'll want to make sure you keep your visuals consistent. On the right, we have an example of a website for Smile TV where there was custom illustrations, original illustrations and animations that were created for this particular website. But there's a common theme and a common look to it throughout. So conversion goals. Well, what are conversion goals for nonprofits and for ministries? Often it's fundraising, advocacy, attendance, and particularly for Christian ministries, it might be commitments for Christ. Conversion optimization. So what are conversion targets? First off, you can divide them into two major categories. There's participation, which might be first-time visitors, repeat visitors, or long-term members, or subscribers. Second is donors, and those can be divided into potential donors, one-time donors, repeat donors, and of course, major givers. So what do we mean by conversion optimization, and why is it important? Well, conversion optimization is all about creating a series of steps, an intentional way to guide a visitor through a particular digital experience, whether that's visiting a website, whether that's navigating an email, a social media post. The idea is to identify your target and then create and determine an exact sequence of behaviors that the media must elicit to cause the desired response, so that we're taking a visitor from point A to point B to point C in a logical and consistent way that is measurable and repeatable. So here's an example of conversion optimizations. At Trinet, we call them action pathways. And what they are a sequence of steps. In this example, all of these action pathways start at the home page and end up at some kind of a call to action, whether that's join the social community, perhaps it's purchase and there's a thank you email. A partner might be presented with information about how to become a partner. An investor might be presented with an investor page, view an annual report, or request an investor packet. Those are all calls to action that are a part of an action pathway. So one of the key ways to get action pathways to work correctly is to tune them and to do conversion optimization, sometimes called A/B testing. And what A/B testing is using and measuring how well the action pathways are working, determining parts of the action pathway, portions of it that are not performing well, and then using live traffic to run split tests between a control and a variant, measure the success of which one works better, and then discard the one that is not performing as well. By doing that, you can typically get dramatic increases in your conversion rates. In this example, we went from a 15% conversion rate to over a 50% conversion rate, over a 3 times a performance improvement. Well, that can be huge when that final step might be a product purchase, or it might be a donation if it's for a nonprofit. So doing the conversion optimization is very important and very critical. So A/B testing, in order to do it, you must clearly identify your target profiles, expose your audience to different messaging at key turning points in the action pathway, then continue to experiment and see which combinations elicit the highest engagement and continued movement along a desired action path. Second, then identify the action paths that prove most effective for the different persona, and then integrate or improve them in your website concept. Next, I want to talk about animation, video, and live streaming. So first of all, animation. And you'll see more and more, especially subtle animation, has found its way into many online and digital experiences. You can use animation to draw attention, but if you have too much of it, it can actually distract or take away. So you'll want to play with the frame rates, make sure the animation and the content are cohesive, and you want to create gentle, subtle movement, and you'll want to use it in moderation. You don't want to have a lot of flashing, bright fonts or lights. You want to do it very subtly, and it can be very effective if you do it the right way. Video, of course, is absolutely huge on websites, mobile. By 2018, it's expected that 79% of all internet traffic will be video. So using video increases your engagement and boosts your conversion. And second, it's of course far more engaging than text. People will watch and engage with it. So it's a great way to grow your audience by inviting them to learn more through video. So video use. First of all, live and archive videos for ministries. They might use that for sermons. That's a great way to maintain ongoing engagement. Second, it ensures your audience stays connected with your ministry, even if they can't make it on Sunday. Facebook Live. Of course, a huge new improvement feature function that was added to Facebook in the last year. So live streaming is about delivering on-air, real-time, unfiltered broadcasts of video. So first of all, live videos are, of course, more engaging than just video sharing because you can interact with your audience in real time. There's a sense of live, behind-the-scenes footage. There's a spontaneity to it, and it can provide instant feedback. And second, the unscripted nature of a live video also builds authenticity and can be leveraged to build a strong personal brand. Here's some examples of Facebook Live used for Best Friends Animal Society, and some other examples of Facebook Live messages that were posted. So some live streaming tips. You'll want to promote before you broadcast in advance or tell people when to tune in to be able to see it, and you can promote it several days in advance, so it's always a good idea to let people know in advance. Second, verify that you have a strong broadband connection. You'll want to have a good internet connection when you do your Facebook Live so that it doesn't drop out or stop. Third, you'll want to practice and rehearse. And fourth, you'll want to analyze your results. Here's an example of early on a Facebook Live session. And so this is an example of promoting your video in advance. Another important digital trend that we've found is pre and mid-roll ads on YouTube. They can be very effective and very cost-effective as well way to reach a very specific audience, because what you can do is you can focus your pre-roll and mid-roll ads such that they show in videos that are being watched by your specific demographic. And that's what makes it so effective. So pre-roll and mid-roll ads are online video ad segments that appear before or at different points throughout your video. And of course, they're common on YouTube. The benefit is you can really isolate and target your audience because you can roll your ads before an audience. You can select the kinds of videos and even the specific videos that you would like to have your ad show in, and then you can roll the ads before an audience that connects. You can advertise before a captive audience. It's very cost effective. You can target your audience for as low as 8 cents per view. Plus, you are charged for your ad only when it is viewed in its entirety. Next, I want to talk about some great tips for Giving Tuesday, which is coming up on November 28th of 2017. Of course, Giving Tuesday is the Tuesday right after the United States Thanksgiving holiday, and the Thanksgiving holiday is usually on a Thursday, then in November, and then the Friday is known as Black Friday, and then the following Tuesday has become known as Giving Tuesday. And there's a number of charities and nonprofits that have really leveraged Giving Tuesday in order to do fundraising, and it's become very important. It's become a social media phenomenon, and 80% of all social activity is on a smartphone. In order to take advantage of it, you'll want to start your campaign early. You'll want to launch a Giving Tuesday branded donation page in advance. Of course, you'll want to make sure that your ministry is mobile optimized because 22% of online donations were made from a mobile device on Giving Tuesday, which was a 17% increase from the previous year. Second, you want to make it easy for donors to give in seconds from anywhere. And third, you might want to even try text to give as another alternative way to donate with simple text. So here's some sample campaigns. Here's one done by the National Multiple Sclerosis Society on their Facebook page. And here's an example of a text to give, where you can give up to $10 by simply through SMS texting. So 3, you want to think about originality, creating a visual theme or a badge for all Giving Tuesday communications, providing imagery and a social proof that are consistent with your other messaging. Number 4, you want to think about animation, video, and Facebook Live. Facebook Live Facebook now features a donation button. You can actually take donations for those nonprofits. They can take donations right within Facebook. You do have to get set up to do that, but it may be worth it for you to do that. You can try adding a pop-up and or a lightbox call to action, and you can thank and encourage donors with videos that inspire them. Number 5, you might want to consider pre- and mid-roll ads as a cost-effective addition to your efforts. You can increase traffic being directed to your website. Next, Visual Tuesday. Here's an example of a visual theme and badge where they had a consistency. They created a badge for Giving Tuesday. Here's another example, a Facebook Live donate button, and a pop-up light box and calls to action. So for Giving Tuesday, here's some donation page blunders to avoid. So 5 common donation page mistakes. 1, your donation page isn't mobile. You'll definitely want to make sure it is mobile friendly. 2nd, you're missing a hook or a strong message for Giving Tuesday. 3rd, your message is inconsistent with your other messaging that you're sending out around the same time. 4, you're trying to put too many calls to action in and there's too many distractions. Or 5, your ask is weak. So the summary then of the 2017 digital ministry trends is: 1, mobile first. It's time to mobile optimize. 2nd, scrolling pages designed with responsive in mind. 3rd, think about using UI grids and cards, which are great for responsive frameworks. 4, think about originality. Utilize compelling images and unique illustrations that are meaningful to your audience. 5th, animation, video, and live streaming are becoming more and more important to provide real-time interaction and instant feedback. It's useful to develop a stronger personal brand, and you can use animation, I would put subtle animation, to draw attention to your calls to action. Number 6, consider pre- and mid-roll ads, particularly on YouTube. It's a cost-effective way to get in front of a very specific audience. And number 7, don't forget Giving Tuesday if you're a nonprofit, and be sure to plan for that in advance. My name's Ron Weber. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Trinet Internet Solutions. My contact information is there. You can reach me by phone, by email, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the above. If you have questions about what I presented, or you would like to contact myself and or Trinet to help you with your online campaigns, your Giving Tuesday, creating or updating your online media experience, please feel free to call me or at the number shown on the screen, 949-442-8900. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. This, again, was 2017 Digital Ministry Trends. Thank you.